shared within the slides. And so you'll have all of those resources really handy. Now, to start out, we're going to talk a little bit just about curation. And when we curate things, that is when we select things and organize them, all kinds of things from presentation of like online content to resources to information, anything that our kids might be using for learning or creating or connecting or collaborating, any resource that we have that we can put together then and curate them in a nice little toolbox, kind of is what I like to call them to my teachers and my kids, and now to our families too. And it's really important when we think about curation, because that skill of curating is something, according to the ISTE standards and other standards that we have as librarians and teachers, that we want our students and our educators to be good at. We want them to be able to curate. We want them to be able to model curation, and we want them to be able to use different tools to curate and to find something that is really going to be there for them when they're pulling all of these resources that we have together. And sometimes, as we know, it gets a little bit overwhelming. We also, when we look at the Future Ready framework, especially as a librarian, I look at our framework for Future Ready librarians. And one of the biggest parts is that part on the top of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And within that wedge, there are three different things, but the one that really stands out to me, and I think one that is probably one of the most important jobs that we have, and especially over the last several weeks, it couldn't be more important than to be able to curate digital resources. And leading in that selection and the integration and organization of all the digital resources and tools we have is so important. But also, again, making sure that we model and making sure that we help develop and support the digital curation skills of others as well. So Symbaloo is one tool that we use every day at school and at home and throughout our time in remote learning and summer reading in so many meaningful ways. And I know when I look back at Symbaloo, I was one of the very first users, and I just loved it from the start. And it is something that I'm a very visual person, and so I really like how we can organize things into Webmixes and we can put them together in one place. And it can be anything from a website to a document that we have to an article to a digital tool or app, anything that we have to put together into one place to make sure that our students have what they need. And also, we've seen in the last several weeks how important this is to our families as well. And so I'm excited today just to talk a little bit about how we use it at Van Meter. And this is something that, as I said, I've used it for many, many years. And I always say that if something happened to my Symbaloos, I would be so sad, because this is something from even when our kids start in TK and kindergarten that we use this at my school. And they know from that first day that this is where they can get to all of the resources, not only for the library, but for their classrooms and for their other related arts and anything that we might be doing at school or that they can do at home as well. So this is an example of our elementary Symbaloo. In our secondary, they have a Symbaloo as well, but on the top, you'll see that we have numbers. And these numbers go to each one of the grade levels. And so not only does this hold reading and ebook resources and databases and all kinds of fun places the kids can go to, each grade level also has their own Symbaloo. Now, this has always been important, as I said, but through remote learning, this became even more important because we had to make sure that our teachers had the links that they needed and the kids had the resources they needed at home to be successful. And so each grade level, I would work with them to help them build what became really that remote learning headquarters for the students and for the families. When we look on our webpage for remote learning that we set up for Van Meter, that was something that was at the top. And one thing, and I'm going to talk about it in a few minutes, is how it works so well with other things. And so if you're using it, like smashing it up with a Google Doc or a Google site, or you're embedding it into a collection by Destiny, All of these things work really, really good to make sure that our students are successful. And so when looking at like a collection by destiny, I always make sure that things are interweaved. If there is a collection that goes with a Symbaloo or a Symbaloo that goes with a collection, I make sure that these things are in different places, but also that they're working together so nice. I also made a lot of choice boards over the last several weeks. And a choice board is, as you can see, a place where kids can go. This is interactive. It's just made in a Google slide, but everything is hyperlinked. And so the kids then can get to that reading fun Symbaloo that they love so much that we went to throughout the year, but they can click on that and then make some choices on where they want to read. Also, when we look at digital citizenship as a librarian and as an educator, and also just using these resources at home became really important through remote learning. But not only providing them with resources, but providing them with a Symbaloo where they had some choice where they wanted to go. Maybe they wanted to play Be Internet Awesome and Interland, or maybe they wanted to read a book from Capstone. Wherever they wanted to go, they had some choice in digital citizenship. And also, this was one that covered news media. This became so important, that media literacy that we were talking about and that we've talked about all throughout the year was something that we made sure parents had in their hands too. When we celebrated Digital Learning Day, we put together stations, and not only did the kids have stations throughout the library, but they also had this great Symbaloo that was set up. And it's become a place that, even though we celebrated Digital Learning Day for one day in the library, this has become a place that our kids can go back to over and over again to be able to play those stations. But as you see, a Symbaloo really allows you visually to set it up so everything is in one nice, neat spot for the kids and families and teachers to be able to get to these resources. If it's something around coding, or maybe it's something too around playing music or makey, whatever it might be, they can get to these resources so simply. So one thing that I really love about Symbaloo too, and I've said this earlier, is how I can smash together different curation tools and also other digital tools and apps with Symbaloo. And as we set up our digital reading and learning resources throughout the year, and also in the last few weeks around digital learning, it became really important for me to make sure that my kids had access to ebooks and e-resources in more ways than they ever had before. And so I was so excited when I got into My Destiny, which is our library automation system, and I was able to take that and then put the picture of that and embed it into My Destiny. And so when my kids now go to their Destiny, they can get to everything just really quick. They don't have to look around for maybe where those places are to read online, or the ebooks that we have, or the audiobooks. Right at the top, they can go to the reading Symbaloo that we have and get to all of the links and resources that they need. It takes them too, just like I said, into different places like a collection. And as you can see in the top corner, they also will find that reading Symbaloo. And so again, it's so important to have that crisscross between those resources so everybody knows where they can get to those things that they might need. When we look now into summer reading, Symbaloo is also a very important part, and always has been an important part of our summer reading or winter breaks or any kind of holiday that we might have. And I love it because my kids are so used to being able to go there that they can go there really successfully during summer reading. And it really takes them to a lot of different reading and learning opportunities that they might have throughout the school year, but then that will continue on throughout the summer as well. This year, we really made sure that everything was set up, and it's going to stay the same throughout the summer, so kids can get to things that they've been using throughout the school year, but also through remote learning. And so they'll be able to get to the things that we might have together. Also in the summer, I think about kind of different places where they can go and really have a lot of fun, and again, make some choice on what they want to do. I love how you can take links to YouTube videos or to audio that might be online. One example is how I took all of the cantata learning books and I put them together on Symbaloo. And so all of these, when they click on them, goes to the cantata books that are amazing children's books, picture books that are paired with music. And so the links on the bottom, the little colored tiles at the bottom, also take them to the different seasons of cantata. And so in one nice, neat spot, the kids then can do this all summer long and find all kinds of books that they can sing and read to. And I just love that. We also kicked off our virtual camp adventure, and this is something that I'm doing for the next 12 weeks. And Symbaloo is a big part of that because the kids, again, will be getting to those resources, but this is something that anyone can do. And so you can all sign up for this. Everything on here that we're using is free, or we have free access to it right now. And so there are Symbaloos and there's Bunsies and all kinds of places that bring these resources together. But then each week there is a different theme and a choice board that is shared. And so at this link on the bottom, and remember, we're going to share this at the end too, you can go and please share this with your students and your families, because this is something that will be going on all year long. But like I said, Symbaloo is a big part of that, because throughout the summer, I'll be sharing really special Symbaloos too that go with each week. Now, when we think about summer reading and we think about even just learning like throughout the year and how we share things, it's so important, even though our kids know where to go, to continue to share. And so I can't stress that enough. Like, just sharing a little Symbaloo, not sharing like all of them that you have, but even just like one Symbaloo Webmix, maybe once a week, or something special or different that maybe you change or that is highlighted, is so important to families and to our kids. And throughout remote learning and throughout the summer as well, I just pull one out and I share it every week. And so, for example, this one was one our guidance counselor put together for social emotional learning, and just sharing things, because now our families are used to knowing that Symbaloo is the place to go for them to get to the resources that they need and where our kids want to go. And so just by sharing that little visual and then the link to it is so important. And just a little tip, keep sharing and keep telling them, because they really do want to know how to get to the resources that they might need and that they want to go to. So I'm really excited to have you guys hear from Bryan, because I've had a lot of questions over the last several weeks, especially just on different ins and outs of Symbaloo and how we make them, how we organize them. And I'm excited because Bryan's the pro here. And so we're going to hear from him now.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. Great presentation. So I'm here to show you all how Shannon can create, how she creates her tiles, her web mixes, and kind of how she gets organized by using Symbaloo. So don't feel pressured to ingest all of the information that I will be sharing here. We do offer tutorial videos that you can reference on your own time and at your own pace. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to share those in the chat. We'll be pulling from those after the webinar during our Q&A. So let me share my screen and we will get started here. Alrighty. So as you're familiar here, we do have our Webmix grid, which is this nice little grid here full of tiles, these little squares, which Shannon was showing you. These are all great where you can basically store and create anything with a link. So resources such as websites, videos, documents, and more. Again, it makes it easy for your students to access these resources, or even if you're sharing, just generally, it'll make all of that online navigation easy. Now, I'll show you how to create a webmix along with your tiles here. So when you log into Symbaloo, basically, you'll click this little plus tab at the top, which will open up a new webmix adding feature, where you can then add a name here, or just do test for the webinar, and we'll click add. Now, by default, you'll see here that the grid, the webmix grid here, will appear empty, giving you the opportunity to fill in these empty squares or tile placements. Now, as I stated, you can actually copy any of the links from the web, whether it be a Google Doc or a video, but we also offer a tile editor and a tile builder tool here where you can create a tile from scratch. So you can paste in whatever link you copy. You can determine the type of resource that you'd like for it to open up as, whether it be a news source, embedded, and so forth. And you can personalize them here with a tile by showing the text and more. One great feature that we do offer is our tile database search feature, where we have over 50,000 tiles. So you can search for a keyword or a website. And if I type in math, you'll see that our results do show up down at the bottom. But simply click a tile and it'll add it to your Webmix here. So it's that easy. Again, it makes finding your resources a breeze, and you just saw how simple it is to add this. So in addition to adding your tiles, we do have features where you can personalize these, as I stated a little bit. And if you right click, you'll open up a small menu here where you can edit your tile, copy it from Webmix to Webmix. You can delete it, share an individual tile, and more options down at the bottom. But to show you a little more on the personalization side, as you can see, Shannon had some custom images in her tiles. You can click on that edit feature here and scroll down where you can change the color. You can choose an icon from within our database here. So you can click on one of those and you'll see up at the top, you have the little preview. You can show text, and you can also upload your own custom image by clicking the upload an image button here, which will allow you to pull any file that you have within your computer. Once you're ready, you'll simply click save and your tile will be stored there. Now, in addition to the personalization, we can also personalize our web mixes. So for example, if we click the settings button at the top, you'll see that you can actually rename your web mix here, which will appear in the tab section. You can change your wallpaper. So you can add your own little touch. You can also select solid colors, upload a custom image. You can also select a Webmix icon. So if you see up at the top within the tabs, you can personalize it further there. And you can do additional features such as resizing your Webmix. So if you run out of space, you can actually enlarge the grid here. And you can also minimize it to make it a little bit neater and make it fit your resources that you've stored. And as you can see, those little red indicators indicate that I have a tile in the wrong row, which will not allow me to execute the action. Now, the transparency toggle here allows you to make the background a little more visible. And we have an add a new marker feature, which I will show you on a different Webmix that is a little more put together. So we'll actually, let me refresh here. It looks like that little sidebar wasn't closing. But on this Webmix where we have a bunch of tiles, what we can do is click that settings button, add a new marker, and what you can do is click and drag over a tile area there. You'll see that we have the new marked area, which you can personalize by adding a new name. You can also change the color, and then you can save your marker. And you have a few additional features, such as deleting the marker there. But the 4 little squares stacked on top of each other there allows you to convert any of the selected tiles into a group folder. And to show you that, what I can do is actually move around the marker here. And if I click on the little square, it'll actually convert those selected tiles into a nice little folder to give you additional organization and personalization there within your Webmix. Now, regarding sharing, sharing is very simple. You'll simply click the share button up at the top, and this gives you a little bit of information on your Webmix, which you can edit here. So you can change the name. You can add a description, some keywords, which will allow you to provide more discoverability within our Webmix gallery, which I will talk about next. But down at the bottom, you will then choose how you wish to share your Webmix, whether it's publicly in the gallery for other users to find, or privately with your friends. So only those that have the share link will be able to access your resources. And once you click that Share My Webmix button, you'll have access to the Webmix share link here, as well as additional options to share via email or share via your social channels. And one great feature that I know Shannon really enjoys is this embed feature. So if you click on that, you have access to an embed code, which you can then embed a Webmix into your site, blog, whatever it may be. Now, moving forward, I want to talk about the Webmix gallery. The Webmix gallery you can access by navigating up to your little profile icon at the top and clicking the gallery. And what this does is this is a big peer-to-peer filled database of webmixes that other users have shared publicly here. And you'll see once you click the search button and add your keyword, you can then find any of the resources that other users have shared with a little information such as the description and title of the webmix. You'll see the country that the webmix originated from, as well as how many users are on that webmix. But this is a great resource basically for new users and current users for you to find new resources, also find inspiration. If you're stuck and don't know how to maybe organize or create your tiles, you can find some ideas here. And if I click on one of these, it'll take us to a webmix preview, which will show you what resources have been added on this webmix here. Again, you have a little more of the overview at the top. But one great feature is you can also add this webmix to your account. So this will allow you to follow along with the original creator. So you'll see this little padlock appear next to the webmix tab there. And any changes that they make, so for example, if I've added this webmix from Shannon, any changes that she makes, I will see appear here. One thing that you can do with these by default when you add them is actually add or move around any of these tiles. So you'll be subscribed to how the original creator has their webmix set up. However, one of the other benefits of finding and adding webmixes from the gallery and from other users is that you can also save time if you need to create a new webmix. And by doing so, or how you can do so, is actually once you've added it, click the following button up at the top. I will click unfollow and claim webmix. Now, what this does is it basically unlocks the webmix and now makes a timestamp copy for you to be able to edit and basically reorganize the tiles in the webmix. Now that you have a copy, you can actually remove, add your own links, make it your own. And once you're ready, you can then click that share button and share your webmix with your users. So again, the webmix gallery allows you to find inspiration, new content to share. You can also follow along for webmixes that are already being created, and it allows you to save time in creating webmixes and finding new content there. The last thing that I do want to share is the difference between Symbaloo and Symbaloo Pro. I know this is a question that comes up very often, and definitely would like to clear that up here. So to start, Symbaloo itself, our personal account, basically provides you the option to create and share webmixes, organize your tiles, and access our learning paths tool. Now, that is the functionality is very much the same as Symbaloo Pro. However, with Symbaloo Pro, you have a new extension that is now added in the left side navigation bar here. So you'll see that we have these little icons, and I am following different schools. So we have Vanometer schools here, and you can follow different web spaces that have been created, for all different types of uses. One of the things with Symbaloo Pro is that you do also get a custom or a set domain. So if I click on my name up here, we'll see as a teacher, I can set my domain as mrbryansclass.symbaloo.com. You can also set this as your school or your district. And this gives you one set domain that you can actually share, which basically has the value in content distribution for your school and your classroom as well. So you can share that set domain, set it as a bookmark, or push it out to all of your school devices so that when your students open up their web browser, they're taken directly to your custom domain with any and all of the webmixes and resources that you've published there. So I've published my school resource webmix, a classroom webmix, and a math webmix. However, if I navigate back to my Symbaloo, I still have other webmixes that I've not shared. So anything on the Pro workspace is public and visible to anyone that accesses that domain. And anything within your My Symbaloo, you'll see that we don't have the custom domain at the top, will be private to you, as this is the management side of Symbaloo. Now, the difference in sharing is rather than clicking the share button at the top, if you do want to publish your resources to Symbaloo Pro, you'll simply click the publish button at the top. You can then select any of the web spaces you may have at the top. Once you're ready, you click publish, and you can actually click a little arrow here that'll take you to that Pro workspace to see the webmixes and resources that you've shared. So now I've added that Burroughs Elementary webmix to my web space, and my students accessing the link can then access all of the resources that I have shared with them remotely from anywhere on any device. So content distribution, Symbaloo provides the power to distribute all of your resources with a single link. It makes it easy, and it's just a great sharing tool. That will sort of wrap up the mini little webinar here. Again, we do offer tutorial videos that will that you can actually use on your own time to reference back. So don't feel like you have to stuff all of this in now. But Shannon, I will share give you the presenter rights.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to share my screen again. Thank you so much. There's so many things that even I forget about being a big user. And so it's just really helpful to hear some of those things too. And we'll have time for some questions afterwards. And I'm always happy to answer any questions that you might have too after this as well. But I'm really excited because Symbaloo has created a new place for us as future ready librarians. And we now have a web space in Symbaloo that everyone can follow by going to this link. And I circled at the top when you put this in, the link at the bottom, you'll see this at the top of your Symbaloo. And all you have to do then is click follow the Future Ready Librarians web space, and you will have access to it. And it's really neat because once you do click on that, it will put it into then over on the left-hand side where you can see then all of your different places that you have in Symbaloo, your web spaces. And so, for example, like I have one for our school for Van Meter, and then right above that, you can see my Future Ready Librarian one. And so look for that little icon. On this one, this is just one of the web mixes inside of that. And this is one that I've just curated a Symbaloo of resources that we've had going on now with Future Ready Librarians for a while now. And so different webinars and case studies. There are collections at the top. There's 10 that go through all of those wedges and different places that you can get to the resources that we have and that we use all the time. And this, as you know, it grows constantly. And so even if you're a member of the Future Ready Librarian Facebook page, some of the resources that even people have been sharing have been added to this too. And so you'll find it really, really super helpful. So please follow that because we're so excited and thankful that Symbaloo has created that for us. So now we have time for some questions, and I know that a lot of you have questions, and so I think Bryan's going to read those, and we're going to answer some of those right now.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. Yes, so I'm pulling up some questions here, and the very first one, what happened to the start of the webinar? We do want to apologize. We did have some technical difficulties to begin, but we will be providing a replay and presentation slides to those that have registered. So if you have not registered, you can find the registration link in the description of the video here. Basically, you're giving us your email. We can send you some post-webinar resources, including the replay of the video and the presentation slides, along with other resources. Next question. So can you share all of your great links and digital resources that you have? Yes, absolutely. We can check, what you can do is actually check out the Future Ready Librarians workspace at futurereadylibrarians.symbaloo.com. You can find any of the resources that Shannon has shared there. You can follow the web space, and also, as she said, share those resources with all of your colleagues, your friends, anyone you feel would benefit from them.
Well, and just to say too that we'll share the slides. And so in each one of the slides, I've hyperlinked all of the Symbaloo URLs. Also, like the virtual camp adventure is linked there. And so anything that you might have seen me talk about or share, you can follow those. All of them are public, and feel free to use them and share them. There's no need to always reinvent the wheel on all of this. And so they're there for you all to use as well. And even the collections are public. And so those, even if you're not a Destiny user, you can still use those as well too.
Great. A few more questions. Let's see what we have here. So Kelly, she asked, do students or parents have to sign up for Symbaloo in order to get to use it? So the great thing about Symbaloo is that if you are simply looking to access resources that have been curated and shared by, say, someone like Shannon or myself, you do not need an account. They'll simply need to share the Webmix link with you or the Pro Webspace domain, and you can access those resources remotely from anywhere on any device. But if you do want to add those and save those for a later time and you want to access those resources and reference back, you will need to create an account just so that you can store and save these resources. So that's that there. Now, we have another question. Can students or parents access Symbaloo from any school website across the country? So yes, if they do have access to the public domain, they will be able to access the resources that are there. So if Van Meter wants to share their domain with everyone, anyone on the other side of the country can access those resources. However, there is a feature where you can actually sort of make your resources private, and you can create groups if there are resources or web mixes that have content that you may not want to share with everyone. That is all within Symbaloo Pro, and we do have videos and more information on how to create groups and differentiate your content there and make it private. So we can share that with you in the post-webinar resources as well. Okay, someone asks, can you resize an embedded web mix? So you can resize the embedded web mix as far as how it's displayed on the page. Within the embed code, you'll have the pixel dimensions and you can manually change that. However, that might be the simple way to just change the embedded web mix size. So can you embed on a free account? Yes, the embed feature for Symbaloo is available on all accounts, despite having free or pro. Let me see, next question. Can you make a tile from a teacher-made Google slideshow? So yes, you can actually link out to the Google Slides presentation. Again, anything that has a shareable link, you can create a tile for and share it out. The access, you may have to change the resource access, so provide access to anyone with an email address, or basically change the settings there if someone can access it. So, but you can definitely share a Google slide presentation. What should the image size be if you want to use a custom image? I believe for the tiles, 80 by 80 pixels is probably the biggest you can go. I know the file size can't be larger than 1 megabyte, so be wary of that. What happens to current pro users that are using it for free? So you'll still be able to keep all of your resources and your domain name. So the link that I showed you just a little bit ago. The only difference with Symbaloo Pro, the free accounts and the paid accounts, is you do get a little more functionality by paying for Symbaloo Pro, and that comes with also removing all advertising. So your students won't see any ads on your account, and you have additional features. For schools and districts, you have things like security and privacy settings and a little more. So yeah, those are a few there. One more thing that I did want to mention for anyone using Symbaloo Pro or thinking about using Symbaloo Pro, if you do have an account full of web mixes, and you sign up for Symbaloo Pro, and for some reason, maybe you don't want to continue with Symbaloo Pro and you want to deactivate it. This is a big concern for people, and I'd like to clarify that if you do decide to deactivate Symbaloo Pro, your resources will not be removed. So think of Symbaloo Pro, the web space, as an extension or an add-on to your account. With that custom domain, just a new place where you can share your resources that also provides you the power of content distribution. So if you hop on it and want to discontinue the subscription, feel free to do so, and you also, again, will not lose your resources. The cost of Symbaloo Pro. So Symbaloo Pro for teachers is $5 a month or $60 for the year. For schools, they start at $4.99 a year, and for districts, it's $17.99 a year. Now, someone asks, I tried to change my widget to Google, but it keeps defaulting to Symbaloo on my web page. However, when I view it on Symbaloo, it shows Google as the widget. So This is a tricky one. Sometimes we do experience a little bit of a glitch where the center box doesn't necessarily update whenever you share it, whether it's embedded or not. But this may be a bug if it's happening to you. What you can do is email us at enhelp@symbaloo.com, and we can help you out there. We can take a look into the issue and see what's going on. Let's see, here's another question. Can you somehow mark the tiles students completed to work? So marking tiles is basically on your end. That is basically for you to more so personalize and organize your resources. So you can tell your students to reach, maybe the purple marked section of tiles for them to access. But there's not necessarily a feature that'll allow you to mark them off or grade them out if your student does go through that tile. We do have our learning paths tool, which is basically a similar concept with the Webmix grid that has now been turned into a little virtual board game style lesson with connecting tiles, and that way they can actually work through the sequence of tiles that you've created as an educator, and they'll work through it as an assignment with questions and videos and all of that, which will also show you the progress through the built-in analytics tool. But if you have any further questions, please feel free to email us at enhelp@symbaloo.com. And I believe that is it. If you have any questions that were not answered, or if I just missed any of them, you can visit help.symbaloo.com, or you can reach out to me personally at Bryan, BRYAN, @symbaloo.com. And that will be it for the Q&A section.
Yeah, that was so helpful, because I know that it's kind of, when you get into them and have lots of questions, and just learning from you and those little tips, I think people really take that away. And so, like we said, if you have any questions afterwards, please feel free to reach out, because we would love to help you.
Absolutely. And again, we are offering Symbaloo Pro free. This is a current indefinite extension through the pandemic. So we want to do our part in helping schools. We understand that, different situations occur, and we're trying to provide everyone with a solution to continue on with distance learning and hopefully do our part to help everyone here. So you can sign up at www.symbaloo.com/sign-up/start. And if there are any schools or districts that would like to set up Symbaloo, please feel free to email me at Bryan@symbaloo.com. For those that registered, again, we will be following up with an email with a recording of the webinar and other resources that you can use if you do have any questions or just want to get started.
Yeah, that will be very helpful for all of you, I'm sure, to be able to grab those. And I just wanted to share my information again. My email is on here, and you can find my blog. And I write about Symbaloo a lot, and how I use it, and how I organize them, how I make my little pictures, and I'm pretty picky. And so all these little details are important to me. And so in my blog, I do write kind of step-by-step on how to do that. And so please check that out too at thelibraryvoice.com. But we're so thankful that you all joined us today. And please reach out, like we said, with questions, and enjoy. If you're not done with school yet, enjoy the last few weeks of learning with your kids online, and enjoy the summer too.
Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Shannon. I really appreciate your time. And again, hopefully everyone enjoys Symbaloo, enjoy your summer, and stay safe. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.